All right, Hannah, I'll let you kick us off whenever you are ready.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is going to be just a 30-minute career webinar. So my name is Hannah Brown, and I'm one of the Kelley career peers that you can meet with. So recruiting season for many companies is just right around the corner, especially for those accounting and finance fields. And we want to make sure that you all feel prepared to have that conversation with recruiters. So today's topic is going to be over how do we have that conversation with a recruiter. Now, when I say that we're going to be talking with a recruiter, some of you might get really excited. You jump at the opportunity to meet someone new and express your skills. Others of you might start to get a little nervous. Like me, my hands start to get clammy and I wonder, what should I say? So no matter what feeling that evokes when I talk about recruiting, we're going to hopefully calm some of those nerves today. So throughout this webinar, we are going to have some links put in our chat, so make sure to check those out. As well as we have Lauren Little with us today, who's a full-time staff member, and she's going to be answering all those questions that you have, so feel free to send those in. So why is talking to a recruiter important, especially during this semester? So at the core, being able to talk successfully with recruiters is going to lead you to more opportunities as a student. So you might be able to find an internship, a full-time offer, or in general, you just get those professional connections that will help you later on. So the recruiters that you talk to, they might not have a job for you right now, but in the future, if they have a job that you'd be a great fit for, then you can just apply for those. So keeping that connection is key. It's important that when you're talking to a recruiter and you're making that connection in person or via Zoom, solidify them online with LinkedIn. As soon as you link in with them, you're getting access to all of their connections as well that can help you along your journey of finding a job. So virtually meeting with recruiters, this is our new normal for this semester and year. So although this semester is going to look different, recruiters are still passionate and are still wanting to meet undergraduate and graduate students, whether that's for internships that are happening remotely or full-time offers that are coming up. So it's important to remember that networking with recruiters is still going to be happening during our virtual career fairs and our workshops. So if you see on the side, we have listed some of the opportunities that are upcoming that you're going to be able to talk with those recruiters. So our most recent one, the one that's coming up this week, is our Accounting and Finance Meet the Recruiter Fair. You're going to be able to meet with recruiters virtually and interact with them. So even though these opportunities are happening virtually, we still want you to be informed of how to use these platforms. So a link is going to be put in the chat that's going to talk to you about a short video that's going to go over how to prepare for a virtual career fair. This is new for all of us, so by watching this video and by looking at the step-in-step instructions that are going to be sent out, you'll be able to follow along and get used to the platform before these opportunities hit. It's important that you understand the platform that you're going to be talking to recruiters on before the day of their internship fair or the job fair, so that you feel acquainted and your nerves are calmed. So now that we know a little bit more about, why we're going to be talking with recruiters and what opportunities are going to be happening this year, we want to focus some time on what are you going to say when you first meet the recruiter, whether that's in person or over Zoom. How do you start it off? How do you start that conversation off? This is where we're going to talk about a professional story. So some of you may have heard it as an elevator pitch before. This professional story is the most important part of meeting a recruiter. This is where you're going to really express who you are, the qualifications you have, but only in about 30 seconds. So it's that first 30 seconds of meeting them. Due to the fact that it is such a short period of time, it's important to make sure you know exactly what to say and what to include to get the best out of that time. So today we're going to really break it down by each component. So I encourage you to follow along. Maybe if you have a piece of paper out, start to brainstorm each section. It might also be helpful if you have it with you, get your resume out so that you can kind of pinpoint where each area matches up. You're going to notice that some aspects are already going to be on your resume. All you really need to do is bring it together in a cohesive statement. So breaking down what a professional story contains. So you're going to see on the screen are 4 major components. So we have our introduction, the career-related experience, the unique skills section, and the good fit section. So it's important to include all of these 4 key components to help make that first 30 seconds a well-rounded explanation of who you are. These 4 components are crucial when letting a recruiter know who you are and what you're looking for. I know at first glance it seems like a lot. There's a lot of bullet points under each. But remember that this is your story. You know it best, and you know what to say and what to include. So we're going to continue to break that down a little further by starting with the first component. So the first component is probably one of the easiest, the most basic one. You're just introducing who you are. So this is very basic, but important information. So you're going to tell them your name, your major, maybe the school that you're in, and your graduation date. The graduation date is super important to include as it expresses to the recruiter the timeline of what opportunities would best fit you. So for an example, we're going to put all this information together and we're going to get a statement that says something like this. Hello, my name is Sarah Smith and I'm a junior majoring in marketing and finance within the Kelley School of Business, and I will be graduating in May of 2022. This example, we find out the candidate's name instantly, and we also are able to connect the dots that they're more than likely, they're going to be looking for an internship in marketing or finance because they are a junior. Now, if you write that you are a senior, a recruiter is more likely going to think that you're looking for a full-time offer. This is a great starting point for the recruiter to understand who you are and how they can help you within that first 30 seconds. And if you're looking at your resume, if you have it pulled up, this information is most of the time going to be your name and then that education piece on your resume. So moving on to the second component. So this is kind of where we're diving in a little deeper. This is when you're going to express the experience you have when it comes to the field that you're interested in joining. So this is where you're going to showcase knowledge and skills that you gained maybe during an internship, a part-time job, an academic project, or even volunteer experience. Now, depending on what year you're in, you may have not had any internship or job experience, and that's okay, because you can still utilize volunteer opportunities and academic projects to showcase skills. I promise by volunteering and by completing your schoolwork, you are showcasing skills that you learn during those times. It just takes maybe a minute to pinpoint what those are. So when you look at your resume, these experiences are most likely going to be under your work experience or maybe under your activities if you're just starting your college career. These sections could sound something along these lines. So I recently had an internship with Lily Rose Boutique as their marketing intern. In this position, I focused primarily on enhancing their digital marketing, and I worked a lot with SEOs in order to increase attraction to their website. So in this statement, you're telling who you worked for, the position you had, and some of the duties that you did while you were in this position. It's important to remember that when a recruiter sees your resume, they're skimming it very quickly. So by telling them your professional story in this component, you're letting them know ahead of time of what you did in the job. The third component is going to be kind of maybe the harder one to imagine. It is expressing any additional unique skills that you've attained during your work-related experience. These can be maybe a certification. Maybe you're bilingual. What languages do you speak? Licenses, and any really unique experiences that you went through. These help to give you that competitive edge when you're talking to a recruiter who are seeing tons of students during the day. This category might be a little harder to think of, and that's okay. So maybe it is a certification, like marketing, you might be going for a Hootsuite, or maybe you're a SHRM member through HR. So it's okay to think of those and figure out what exactly you need to say. You could also think of maybe a study abroad opportunity as well. For example, Sarah, who is a marketing student at her internship, said that during my last internship, I gained experience using SEOs, and I'm certified in both Google Ads and Hootsuite. So there she is again, reminding them of what she did. She worked with SEOs, and she got more experience by having a certification in both Google Ads and Hootsuite, which are two platforms that marketers use quite a lot. So advertise those unique skills, and although they might be hard to come up with, talk with one of our career peers or full-time staff members, and we can help you think of those items. The next is going to be the good fit section. So this last section, you're kind of wrapping everything up. You're trying to connect all the things you mentioned beforehand in the 4 components and tie it into why you would be a good fit for the position and company. So this is where you really can showcase where you research the company beforehand. That's when it really comes into play, as you mentioned, maybe current news that's happening or the mission of the company. So before meeting recruiters, it's super important to research their company so that going in, you know who their company is and what positions they're hiring for. With everything going on in the news, I am sure that the company has been in the news for something. Bring that up if it's positive and talk about it. In this example, Sarah relates to what they do as a company to the things that she likes to do in her free time. So it can be a super simple statement such as, I saw on your guys' website that you serve nonprofit organizations who need help building a social media presence. Here at IAPY, I volunteer with many nonprofits in the community, such as the Ronald McDonald House. She's connecting what they do with what she likes to do. This helps express to a recruiter that she's a good fit for their company and maybe even the position by saying that she has a passion for what they're doing. Now, we've learned about the 4 components. We know that you need to have the introduction, the career-related experience, that unique skills section, and express how you're a good fit. Now, I know I said there was only 4, but during this whole process, the 5th key component is to engage with the recruiter during the whole time, using both verbal and nonverbal cues. And we're going to kind of dive into that a little deeper. It's important to remember that when you're talking with a recruiter, it's a conversation. It's a two-way street, so try not to dominate the conversation. Let them speak as well. And although it might seem like you're saying a lot of information in the beginning, going through that 4 different components, remember, it's only about 30 to 40 seconds where you're really showcasing who you are. That means the other minute and a half, 2 minutes that you're talking with a recruiter, let them talk to you as well. They might ask, what do you know about our company? Or they might tell you a little bit about their company. Let them express where they want the conversation to go as well. It can be really easy for us as students to dominate the conversation because we want the recruiter to know how qualified we are, especially when they're seeing so many students in a day. But the key is to really make sure that you're balancing it out. Let the recruiter feel like they can talk as well, and they can get the information that they need to get across about their programs to you. So it's good to be a good listener here as well. So going into more of that engagement step, to help make this more of a conversation, because it might seem a little hard, we like to end that statement with something that's more engaging, an engaging question to kind of wrap that recruiter back in. So you might ask them, what projects have other interns at your company done before? Or what do you love most about the company? This lets you get more information about the company, but also helps you wrap them back in. So we're going to throw a link down in the chat that's going to go more in depth on what questions you could ask to keep recruiters engaged. So if you're trying to think, what is something that's super special that I could ask them, that's going to be like, they really looked into our company or they're really interested. So make sure to take a look at that article. Now you can also show engagement by how your verbal and nonverbal cues. So we're also going to send an article through the chat that talks about nonverbal cues because especially in the virtual setting, we tend to forget about these. Even though this is going to be conducted more than likely via Zoom or via other technological platforms, we want to make sure that you're showing your best selves. So that means sitting up straight, making sure that you're smiling. Now, a harder component is that eye contact piece. When you're in a room with someone, it's easy to make eye contact. But when you're on Zoom or another platform, sometimes it can be hard the way you have your room set up or the way you have your computer set up to make eye contact with the individual. So it might be a really wise decision before the day of the recruiting fair comes up, jump on Zoom and see how it looks when you record yourself talking. Are you making eye contact with the camera or are you constantly looking away because you have something else on your screen? So take a look at that and see how it looks. When you showcase your nonverbal skills and asking them questions, that keeps them engaged. And it shows the recruiter that you really are interested in the position that they have, but also in the company as a whole. And then it helps to balance out the conversation so that you're not talking the whole time and you're also learning about the position. Now that we have all the components, we're going to kind of go over what a personal story would look like from start to finish. So I know it looks a little long, but I promise me it's short and it's concise, but it lets a recruiter know exactly who you are and what you're looking for, which is super important. So it says, hello, my name is Sarah Smith. I'm a junior majoring in marketing and finance within the Kelley School of Business and will be graduating in May of 2022. I recently had an internship with Lily Rose Boutique as their marketing intern. In this position, I focused primarily on enhancing their digital marketing and worked a lot with SEOs in order to increase attraction to their website. During that experience, I gained experience using SEOs, and I'm certified in both Google Ads and Hootsuite. I saw on your website that you serve nonprofit organizations who need help building a social media presence. Here at IUPUI, I have volunteered with so many nonprofits in the community, such as the Ronald McDonald House. I am very interested in your internship position and was wondering, what projects have you had your interns work on in the past? Now, this statement ties everything that we've talked about together. It tells them who you are and what you're looking for out of this conversation. Now, like I mentioned, a recruiter only looks at your resume for a few seconds, especially when they're trying to engage with you and look up at you. By making this statement, you kind of highlight the key points of your resume. So remember, we talked about the education aspect, the work aspect, and even including that activities aspect. Now, that engagement piece, they might ask you to expand on a situation. So they might ask Sarah, could you expand on what you did at Lily Rose Boutique? And that's totally okay, but at least in your story, you got it out that this is kind of who you are and what you're doing. Now, a personal story can be sometimes a little daunting to write, and that's kind of where we can help step in. So if you're needing more help on a personal story, or maybe it's a resume, anything like that, you can feel free to reach out to us and make an appointment. So we have the link in there, the www.kelleycareersonline.com. So feel free to reach out to us there and make an appointment. You can also do drop-in hours. So we have those from Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., Friday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., and if you guys don't know, we are having the Accounting and Finance Meet the Recruiter Fair this week. So during this week, during that fair, this Thursday, we're going to have drop-in hours from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. during the fair. Now, this is when you can log in and ask any questions, any last-minute help that you might need, especially when it comes to technology or any platforms. Go ahead and reach out to us, and we can try and help you out. So like I said, we can help you fine-tune your resume or personal story, and you can do that by either making an appointment or drop-in hours. But before we finish, does anyone have any questions? And thank you guys for attending. Thank you. And somebody asked in the Q&A, she was wondering, would putting down regular work experience be all right? Of course, any work experience that you have, you can translate those skills. So no matter if it is, working at a retailer, maybe you work at a clothes like Kohl's or something, or whether you're working at a big company, it doesn't matter. You can use and showcase those skills. So it doesn't matter. Just you've built skills, showcase those. They're going to want to see it either way. Somebody put in the chat for the call center, yeah, talk about your work experience. I am sure that you have great customer service for doing all that. So showcase that. Maybe showcase how many calls you received a day or how many complaints you had to deal with. That will show your communication skills and how diligent you were when working. We have, what is a good general cover letter for the job fair? So what you can do if you want, we can do drop-in hours or make an appointment for the career fair. Do you have any advice on this, Lauren?
Yeah, happy to jump in here. General cover letters aren't used for a career fair. Your cover letter is your 30-second pitch. So you don't have to have one of these prepared. Now, if you have applications coming up that you need assistance with that, Hannah or I, or any of the full-time staff would be happy to meet with you on that. Good question.
there's any other questions, feel free to put it in the chat. We have one in the chat. How do I talk about my feedback after talking with them?
I'm happy to take that one,
Yeah.
Hannah. So if you want to ask for feedback, really the more appropriate place to do this is following the fair, to ask them about feedback on the entire process. So not only your interaction with them, but then also your application materials in addition to that. That's probably more of a one-on-one conversation that we would be happy to have. So again, if you would like to email either myself or any of the full-time staff, I'll put our email here. We might be able to answer that question a little bit more directly.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Alrighty, well, Hannah and I will hang out here for another couple minutes to answer any of your questions, but if you don't have any, feel free to give yourself back 10 minutes of your time for the day. And thank you so much for stopping by our session. We're happy to have you today.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
And thank you, Hannah. You did an awesome job.
So Isaac put in the chat, as well as at the career fair for accounting and finance people, will Meet the Recruiter be a generator of internship offers? So not sure if I'm answering this correctly, but if you're not an accounting and finance student, there will be other career fairs upcoming that will lead to different internship offers. If you go on Kelley Careers Online, you can actually start to apply for some of the internships that we have available, no matter what your major is. But the recruiting fair is definitely a good place to go ahead and make those connections, and it can lead to internship and full-time offers.
Yeah, Hannah, well put. I would just say, addition to that, offers don't happen immediately at the fair. It's typically an interaction that leads to an interview. And from there, an interview may generate an offer. But if we didn't answer your question, please clarify. We're happy to answer it.
So yes, Isaac, the point of like a Meet the Recruiter or career fair is to make that first connection. And then you're most of the time going to have a follow-up with an interview, or maybe they'll email you or ask to meet with you as an interview, but that's just meeting the connection at first. So that's what these career fair do. They help you get, in the face of an employer so that you can start to build that relationship. That relationship might take time to build. It might take weeks for them to even send out emails, but it's just starting that process.
All righty. Well, we're going to go ahead and sign off here. Thank you again so much for attending. If you're still in the chat, I'm going to include my email address one more time in case you need to send us a message in between now and the fair, which is tomorrow starting at 2 o'clock. I will be on that online chat from 1 to 5. So if you have any additional questions, you know where all to find me. Thanks again for attending. Have a wonderful afternoon.